Part 2 of imagination. What we're going to do now is we're going to look at specific ways imagination can be used. And let's take a really extreme example, which is Adolf Hitler. Now Adolf Hitler had at the very least 1 or 2 chips on his shoulder, various things he wasn't happy about in his life as he was growing up. And he dedicated his active imagination to a particular end. And we all know what the result was. So many millions of different people that were chosen at random being exterminated all those years ago. So the imagination has both a white and a black side, or a light and a dark side. And the thing is, it's like all tools, it can be used in either way. So it is possible for a person to literally conjure up demons, and this is how black magic works. What black magicians actually do is, using the power of their active imagination, choosing to use it on the dark side, black imagination, they will literally create a demon. And where does it come from? It comes from the imagination. And what does it do? Well, unfortunately, it does whatever it is they program it to do. So this is how a lot of nasty, unpleasant things have been done to people, and a certain percentage of my clients, not a small percentage either, are literally the fallout from people who've been working with the active imagination for harmful ends. So it's something very well to be aware of. It certainly can be used for harm as well as for good. So active imagination used in that way, it can create demons, it can create curses, it can create illness. I'll give you an example of something which is much less clear now, which is that the person I married and lived with for a huge chunk of my life, she dedicated her active imagination towards illness. And this is an awful thing to talk about, but it needs to be talked about because it's very important. She literally spent years of her life imagining what it would be like if this tiny little growth would get bigger, and that she would end up with full-blown cancer. And this is what she did. She literally talked herself into a series of horrific cancers, the final one of which killed her. And that's another way the active imagination can be used in a way which is contrary to life. Of course, there's another thing that people sometimes do. People who are suffering from really extreme depression, they imagine all sorts of ways they're going to kill themselves. And then enough time goes by, and unfortunately they take that very regrettable step. So that's the thing about the imagination. It's a very powerful tool, and you can use it to create and to heal. You can literally create new civilization from your active imagination. But when it's used in the way that's not helpful, you can destroy civilizations, as we had with the Nazis in World War II. And you can even use it to destroy yourself, whether it's by consciously creating an illness, or whether it's intending your own demise. So something that's very useful with this regard is to become an observer of your own thoughts. If you pay attention to your thoughts and just notice the quality of them, and how positive, how negative are they, and are they about helping you, about helping other people, or are they about keeping you stuck in a place you don't want to be? That's something worth looking at. That'll give you even more of an insight into where you're at with your life. And what with all the changes coming up, the one thing every human being needs to do is to become the master or the captain of their own sovereignty when it comes to their imagination, so that they're only using it for the very best ends for themselves and for other people. These are the times to do that. The very first step is to observe your thoughts, and when you notice what they are, if they're the thoughts that are helpful to you, that's great. And if not, it's time to start changing them. And do be aware that we live in a climate, in a whole world civilization, which has seen so much war and so much misery, that there's a bit of a cloud that hangs over the planet, and it's very easy to get caught up into that and sucked up into all the negative stuff you read about in the newspapers and on the news. So that's why some people choose to keep themselves at a distance from such media, to give themselves more of a pure insight into the world. And from that place, they can then bring forth their own pure imagination. So if you feel you've been a bit ground down, sometimes the thing to do is take a little time out from the hurly-burly of the world and take a bit of retreat time, and that can help you to get clear about where you want to be. But observing your own thoughts is a very useful thing to do.